Hey guys, welcome to the channel. In this video is my Premier League predictions game week 2. As you already know, the 2026-27 campaign season has already begun, and unfortunately I couldn't bring game week 1 prediction video, but well, I'm here with a game week 2 prediction video which start at the weekend on Friday. So without wasting much of your time, let's get started. Well, let's start with the obvious. In game week 1 started on Friday, where Arsenal hosted Coventry City, a new promoted side, and Arsenal got the job done against Coventry City. The second game was against Manchester United, went to play against Hull City, and Hull City ended up beating a whole Manchester United by 2-0, and so many results in game week 1. So game week 2 prediction, we are starting at the Selhurst Park between Crystal Palace versus Manchester City. If you look at Crystal Palace in game week 1, went to Everton and they lost. Manchester City also in game week 1, they played against AFC Bournemouth, and well, they got last minute 2 goals in last minute and got a victory in their opening game against AFC Bournemouth. So Enzo Maresca's first game as Manchester City coach, he ended up getting all the 3 maximum points despite there were struggles in the first game. But well, I think going to this game is going to be game week 2, which is Friday night, Selhurst Park. Talking about Crystal Palace, you know, they lost their first game, so this would be a very massive game for them at home at the Selhurst Park. Can Enzo Maresca get a comfortable win against Crystal Palace? Is a question to ask. So what do I think will happen at the Selhurst Park in game week 2? Manchester City going to face Crystal Palace, who lost their first game. In this game, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. I think Manchester City, they are still trying to adapt to Enzo Maresca's system, so this is going to be a difficult game for Man City. My score prediction in this game is Manchester City 2, Crystal Palace 2. Alright, moving on to the next game in game week 2 at the Anfield Stadium is between Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest. I think going to this game is going to be a very difficult game. Talking about Liverpool in game week 1, Liverpool went to the St. James Park and they got a 2-2 draw against Newcastle United in their first opening game for the new campaign season, which it was a very difficult game. Despite Liverpool got a last-minute equalizer, which was a penalty that helped them to get that 1 point against Newcastle. Talking about Nottingham Forest, also in game week 1, lost at home to Leeds United. They lost by 1-0 against Leeds United. So if you're going to this game Saturday, early kickoff, is going to be a very dramatic game at the Anfield. If you look at early kickoff, most of the big teams struggle in early kickoff. So could Liverpool drop points against Nottingham Forest? It's a question to ask. And well, going to this game, I personally think Liverpool this season, they'll struggle. Despite there's a new coach, new system, players are adjusting and adapting to the system. I think it's going to be a very difficult, hot, early morning game for Liverpool. What is my score prediction? Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest. As you know, Nottingham Forest in the opening game lost against Leeds United, so this is a game that they need a point, and I will not be shocked if Nottingham Forest end up getting a result against Liverpool. But my score prediction in this game is going to be a 2-1 victory for Liverpool. Liverpool 2, Nottingham Forest 1. Alright, moving on to the next game at the Vitality Stadium in game week 2 is between AFC Bournemouth versus Everton. This is going to be an incredible game coming up at the Vitality Stadium. Talking about AFC Bournemouth, in game week 1 or in their opening game of the season, got a 2-1 loss against Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium, which in that game Bournemouth had the lead and they couldn't hold on to get even a result or even a single point against Man City. And this is going to be their second game at home at the Vitality Stadium against Everton, who Everton also in game week 1 managed to beat Crystal Palace by 2-0. AFC Bournemouth struggled in their opening game, lost the game. So this game against Everton, they need a point, and at home I think I'll give them the point against Everton. What is my score prediction? I'm predicting this game to end in a 3-1 victory for AFC Bournemouth. That's why Everton won their first game, but I think they might probably drop points against AFC Bournemouth at the Vitality Stadium. So my score prediction is a 3-1 victory for Bournemouth. Moving on to the next game is between Coventry City versus Hull City. This is going to be their second game of the campaign season. Talking about Coventry, in their opening game against Arsenal, lost by 3-0 against the Premier League champions Arsenal, the Gunners. And talking about Hull City, also in their opening game was against Manchester United, and Hull City ended up beating Manchester United by going to their second game of the season against a team that they played alongside last season in the championship. Both teams in their last two encounters ended up in a 0-0 draw. Last season, none of these teams were able to get a win against each other in the championship, and this time around it's in the Premier League. Can Coventry get a result against Hull City? And if you look at Hull City performance against Manchester United in their opening game, can they also get a result against Coventry? What do I think will happen in this game? Coventry City versus Hull City. What is my score prediction? I'm predicting this game to end in a 1-1 draw. Coventry City 1, Hull City 1. Moving on to the next game too at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. It's between Tottenham Hotspur versus Newcastle United. Talking about Tottenham, in their opening game of the season, went to the Gw2 Community Stadium and they lost by 3-0 against Brentford, which was very shocking looking at the transfer window, kind of transfer they did in the market. And at the start of the season, you lose your first game against Brentford by 3-0. I think Tottenham need to do better. Going up against Newcastle United, who also in their opening game got a 2-2 draw against Liverpool at home at the St. James Park. I think this is going to be a very difficult game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham Hotspur versus Newcastle United. What is my score prediction? I'm predicting De Zerbi to get his first win. My score prediction is a 2-1 victory for Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham Hotspur to Newcastle United 1. Moving on to the next game in game week 2 at the Stamford Bridge is the world champions Chelsea versus the Premier League leaders Brighton. This is going to be an exciting encounter coming up in game week 2. If you look at Brighton, in their opening game of the season was against Aston Villa, and Brighton ended up beating Aston Villa by 4-0. So right now, if you look at the Premier League table, Brighton is on top of the Premier League table. Wow, interesting. Well, Brighton beat Aston Villa by 4-0. As I'm recording this video, Chelsea are yet to play their game against Fulham in their opening game, so I can't give much details about that. But if you look at Chelsea performance in the preseason, I think Chelsea this season will be a fire or a force to contend for the Premier League title. So going into this game in their second game against a team who got a 4-0 victory in their opening game against Aston Villa. I know Aston Villa, they sold most of their key players like Morgan Rogers. They sold him to Chelsea. So I wasn't expecting much from Aston Villa. But well, talking about Brighton, it's going to be interesting this season. Chelsea versus Brighton. What is my score prediction? I'm predicting Chelsea to get a 2 comfortable 0 victory against Brighton. Chelsea 2, Brighton 0. Alright, moving on to the next game too in game week 2 is at the Ellen Road. It's between Leeds United versus Brentford. this is going to be an interesting crash coming up in game week 2. Talking about Leeds United in their opening game of the season, went to the City ground and they got a 1-0 victory against Nottingham Forest. Talking about Brentford, also in their opening game, got a 3-0 victory over Tottenham Hotspur. So looking at two teams, they got wins in their opening game of the season, and this is going to be their second encounter, Leeds United versus Brentford. If you look at these two teams last season, what happened between these two teams? Last season, both home and away between Leeds United and Brentford ended up in a draw. It was 1-1 and 0-0. So if you look at this game, the possibility of this game ending in a draw is very high. What is my score prediction? I'm predicting this game to end in a 2-2 draw. Leeds United 2, Brentford 2. Moving on to the next game 2 is at the Stadium of Light in game week 2. It's between Sunderland versus Fulham. Talking about Sunderland in their opening game of the season, lost against Ipswich Town. And talking about Fulham, as I'm recording, they are yet to play against Chelsea, so I can't give much details about that game. But well, looking at Fulham also in their preseason game, I think they are ready to contend this season. And both teams, if you look at Fulham, they have a new manager, and going to this game against Sunderland, if you look at both teams last season, what happened between Fulham and Sunderland? If you look at the first leg, ended up in a 1-0 victory for Fulham, and the second leg also ended in a 3-1 victory for Fulham. So last season, Fulham got back-to-back wins against Sunderland. Could they get another back-to-back wins? Well, it is what it is. Looking at Sunderland, they didn't have a good start, lost against Ipswich Town, a new promoted side, and their second game at home at the Stadium of Light. What is my score prediction? I'm predicting this game to end in a draw. My score prediction is going to be a 1-1 draw. Sunderland 1, Fulham 1. Moving on to the next game at the Old Trafford Stadium is between Manchester United versus Ipswich Town. Going to this game is a must-win game for Manchester United. Looking at Manchester United in their opening game away against Hull City, who is also a new promoted side, Man United end up losing by 2-0 against Hull City. And talking about Ipswich Town, they also got their first win in the league against Sunderland in their opening game. So going to this game, they have 3 points in the bag going against Manchester United, who is yet to win the game this season. What do I think will happen at the Old Trafford? The last time these two teams met, Manchester United ended up beating Ipswich Town by 3-2. So I think this is going to be a game that more than 2 goals can happen in this game. What do I expect to happen in this game? My score prediction in this game is going to be Manchester United 2, Ipswich Town 1. Alright, moving on to last but not the least game, or the game of the week in Premier League game week 2 is between Aston Villa versus Arsenal. If you look at this game last season, both Aston Villa and Arsenal, in the first leg, Aston Villa got a win, a 2-1 win against Arsenal. The second leg, Arsenal also managed to beat Aston Villa by 4-1 in the second leg. But right now this season, Aston Villa have sold most of their key players, especially Morgan Rogers. They sold him to Chelsea. So, and we also saw what they did in their opening game against Brighton. I think this is going to be a very difficult game. Looking at Arsenal in their opening game against Coventry City, managed to get a 3-0 comfortable victory against Coventry City. So this game is a must-win game for Arsenal because this season they want to retain the title. And looking at Aston Villa, I think there is a lot of work that they need to do for the transfer come to an end. So Aston Villa need a reinforcement in their midfield and defense, and probably get a striker, because this season is going to be a very long season if they are going to go this way. Their first game lost 4-0 against Brighton. Arsenal got a 3-0 against Coventry. And Aston Villa at the Villa Park versus Arsenal, second game of the season. What is my score prediction? I'm predicting Arsenal to get a win against Aston Villa. My score prediction is going to be a 2-1 victory for Arsenal. Arsenal 2, Aston Villa 1. Alright, so these are my predictions for Premier League game week 2. Let me know your thoughts and your minds at the comment section. Which team do you expect them to win, or which team do you think going into this game week 2 will drop points? Let me know your minds at the comment section. My name is Andy Final, and I'll be at the comment section to interact with you. Till we meet in another video. Bye bye for now.